Hello, I'm Doug Roran here in Juniper Level Botanic Garden, the home of Plant Delights Nursery. And this is a plant we often smell before we actually see the flowers, because the flowers are a little bit subtle and they're almost sort of pale yellow, milky white color, but it's very fragrant. This is the Middle Eastern shrub known as Wintersweet. It's Chimonanthus praecox, and praecox referring to precocious because it's blooming early in the year. It generally for us starts before Christmas, and here it's still blooming at late in January. And the first part of the generic name, Chimon, is referring to winter, and anthem or anthus is referring to flowers. So the common name means winter flower. I'm trying to remember what a friend of mine who is very fond of it calls it. He's Persian, and they have their own common name for it, and it is, I think they might just call it winter flower. It's very close relative of the Calycanthus, the Wintersweet, and indeed the flowers look somewhat similar. And then they make the brown pendant fruit that looks almost identical to the fruit of Calycanthus. You see, it's a great big shrub. It's gotten, certainly 12, 15 feet tall. It's growing in quite a shady location. It's hard to tell this time of year, but in the summer it's full shade. But there's another plant of Wintersweet in a part of the garden where it has no shade at all, and it grows equally well. We saw the other Wintersweet three gardens apart, also at Juniper Level Botanic Garden, and that very pale color is typical of the wild Wintersweet. But in gardens, in horticulture, you can find some selections that were made because the flowers are very strongly colored yellow. There's praecox and, I'm not going to remember the other somewhat common cultivar, but this is one called snow gold, which is, I didn't realize that this particular plant was that cultivar. But they're all fairly similar, and the thing that distinguishes them from the wild form is just that they're a much stronger yellow. Has the same fragrance. I smelled it probably 50 feet before I actually saw the plant. So on a warm winter day, the fragrance does carry pretty far. And last week we went down to 14 degrees and the flowers survived that cold, which sort of surprised me. A great winter interest plant to add to your garden. It can be a background plant because it's just another foliage plant in the summer, but it's a really nice plant to have in the winter garden. Thank you for your time today, and I hope to see you again in the garden.